And I'm going to. Okay. All right, we'll start with the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. For those of you who had a chance to read my accompanying email message with the link that we sent out for the class for this week, I had the privilege of hearing a wonderful Rebbitzin that her name is Rebbitzin Yemima Mizrahi. She's famous throughout the world. She is Israeli, but English speaking. And one of the stories she told us in context of what I'm going to share for us today is that she was at an event at the hostage square where families of hostages were gathered. And she was talking to one woman, and we'll talk about the context of the story a little bit later, but one woman who came up to her and said her daughter's a hostage in Gaza. And she said that she had participated in the Shema Yisrael at the Kotel. And it was her first time to actually ever say the Shema. Very secular person. She didn't know it. It wasn't in her experience. And she talked about how powerful it was that the combination of saying it, those words, and knowing that those are the words that have been on the lips of the Jewish people since the beginning of the Jewish people, and everyone saying it together, of how much it deeply touched her. And so now she has taken on saying the Shema, and that every time she really feels the combined experience of what that means to say it. So when we say it, it's only 6 words, it's over and done with before you can sometimes even think about it, but how powerful it is. And that for this woman who is dealing with what we should never know of having her daughter be a hostage, that she has found tremendous, I won't say comfort, because I don't think you can be comforted, but tremendous strength and fortitude and connection and spiritual, framework in order to be able to deal with everything that she is going through. So it was just really fascinating. So we say it, we're lucky that it's in our lexicon, our spiritual lexicon, to say it, but sometimes we'd be almost better off if we didn't know it, so that the first time we say it, we would have that novel experience, because now we know it, we say it, and so it's harder to actually think about it and to have the kavana and have the focus and attention on what it is that we are actually saying. So that was one piece, and we'll come back to that in a minute. So this week we are in Parsha Shmini. Yes, Marcia, did you have a question?
I hope everyone got a notice from the ADL for the letter that they're trying to get 180,000 signatures. You don't have to put your name down. You can say anonymous, because today is the 180th day of captivity.
Yes, thank you very much, Marcia.
I didn't have the letter.
Okay,
no.
So
call the ADL. The synagogues, all of them, I think.
Everybody is supporting this, and Dorothy, it's something I can send you. I think I have it in an email for sure. I have it in a WhatsApp. Okay. So
I feel neglected. We have members of 2 synagogues. Whoa.
No, some people, I think it's one of those situations. And then let's move forward, because I have a lot I'd like to cover for us today. That they're very close at last count. So some people are probably getting 6 or 7 emails and text messages, and some people might not be getting any, but I will send that to you, Dorothy. Okay, let's go and move forward.
Just real quick, I'm sorry, Ellen, to remind people, Sunday at 2 at Wash Park is also a commemoration for this 180 days.
Thank you very much.
Sunday till they're all home.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you for letting me say that.
Thank you. Okay, so this week is a special Shabbos. It is Parsha Shemini, and the word Shemini comes from the word Shmona, meaning 8. And it is also special Shabbos. It's Shabbat HaChodesh. Shabbat HaChodesh means the Shabbos of the month, meaning the epitome of months. And the epitome of months is the month of Nisan, the month of Pesach, the month of new beginnings, the month of redemption. So that is what this Shabbos is. Again, this is coming from Rebbe Yemima Mizrahi, and we're looking at the juxtaposition of Parsha Shemini, which has a lot of different content in there, including the laws of kashrut, the inauguration of the Mishkan by Aaron and his sons, the death of Nadav and Avihu for bringing the strange fire. But what we're going to focus on first is the word Shmini, which means the eighth. Now, I have to say that this word, the word itself, is a little traumatizing to the Jewish people, because even though people are calling the attack on Israel and on Jewish people, referring to it by its English date of October 7th, that it was Shemini Atzeret. It was Simchas Torah in Israel, and it was Shemini Atzeret. It was our holiday. So just even hearing the word Yom HaShmini on the eighth day, what our heart is going to now is on the eighth day is when this tragedy happened. And so it's an echo of that, of hearing that word and of what we were going through and how our joy went from such incredible height to such grief and despair in just moments. But we are putting that together with Shabbat HaChodesh, which is about the month of Nisan and about new beginnings and about renewal and rebirth. So how do we wrap our heads around this? And that's what we're going to talk about, is specifically about Shabbat HaChodesh, the beginning of the month of Nisan. So we're going to have an extra Torah. There's going to be a second Torah brought out, and the Torah we're going to read from Parsha Bo. Parsha Bo is part of, in Exodus, in Shmot, that talks about, we're in the middle of the plagues, and before the 10th plague, God introduces to Moshe the idea that there's going to be a Rosh Chodesh and that the first month is going to be the month of Nisan. That's on page 349 in your Chumash, or chapter 12, verse 1. Chapter 12, verse 1, page 349. Hashem said to Moshe and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, "This month shall be for you the beginning of the months. It shall be for you the first of the months of the year." This is the introduction. Some people say the Torah should have started here, that this is the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people. So we are given the month of Nisan. So interestingly, there is an argument in the Talmud about when humanity, we're going to say Adam, when Adam was created. So the one debate or one point is that the creation started as the holiday that we celebrated. When are we celebrating it? At Rosh Hashanah. And that the first day of Tishrei was Rosh Hashanah and was the creation of man. And that the creation started actually on the 25th of Elul. That's the day and God said, "Let there be light." That's that day. And that by the 6th day, which was the creation of humanity, that's Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, that's Rosh Hashanah. So that's one opinion. But there's another opinion that says, no, what happened is the creation, actually, Adam was created on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and that the actual creation started on the 25th of Adar. On the 25th of Adar was the first part of creation, and the 6th day of creation was Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Now, this isn't just like a debate of like you counted wrong and it's like a week off. We're talking about half a year. We're talking about way off. So obviously there's something behind this dispute. What are we talking about? So one of the ways it's resolved is by looking at the different parts of creation. What does it mean to create something? So think about anything that you've tried to create, or even an event that you've tried to plan, that you were executing. You could say, when did the plan start? It's like, well, when did I start setting up got the band and got the caterer? When did I do that? Or when did I first think about that I want to do it? And I want to think about, I want to have this band and I want to have this caterer. So when we talk about creation, there are actually two parts of it. There's probably many more, but there's certainly two distinct parts. When did it come into thought, and when did it get put into motion? When did it get executed and actualized? I won't say put into motion. When did it become actualized? So the understanding is the actualization was in Tishrei, that the actual physical form of Adam happened on Rosh Chodesh Tishrei, on Rosh Hashanah. And the beginning of the creation, let there be light, was on the 25th of Elul. But before that, there was God had the plan, had to first come up with the plan. And the plan wasn't, yeah, I think I'd like to have creation. It was a complete thought process that started on the 25th of Adar of what do I want this creation to be? What are the parts? How do I want it to look? How do I want it to function? So it's just think about, like, it's one of the challenges in an organization when people want to plan anything. Cheryl, you know this. Marjorie knows this. Everybody, people know here. People say, we want to do such and such. It's like, okay, but let's flesh that out. What are we trying to achieve? What's it supposed to look like? What are the details? That if you have not articulated what it is exactly that you want to do, the chances of it coming out right at the end on the day of execution, of actualization, are slim to none. And then everybody starts fighting. Well, that's not what I thought we were doing. I thought we were doing something else. Or I don't have any of the materials that I thought I planned to have. So it says, so what's the most important part of the creation? You couldn't say the thought process. What goes into the visualization and articulation of what it is that we want. So it says, this is what Hashem did at the end of Adar, the 25th of Adar, through Rosh Chodesh Nisan, becomes then the creation of Adam, and that then will become materialized in Tishrei. It says there is a very powerful idea that every year on the 25th of Adar, which is tomorrow, okay, Thursday, tomorrow is the 25th of Adar. It is considered extremely auspicious for more than just regular davening of praying for what we want. It is a time like people have a vision board to visualize and articulate. You can speak out to yourself. You can write it down. You don't have to write it down, but to think in the realm of machshava, of thought, of what do I want? What do I want for myself? What do I want for every individual in my family, for the people I work with, my community? What do I want the world? Am I going to visualize it? Visualize the hostages all coming out of Gaza, walking out of there healthy, free, and home with their families. The human mind has an incredible ability to visualize. It's considered the gift of a human being that is largely untapped. And when people do tap into it, the power that it has to change reality. Now, this isn't like, if you will it, it will be. It's not that. It is that it's the first action to actually take is to visualize with verbalization of what it is I want. And when we do that, then we are able, our minds, this is why people say, you should have like a mission statement, you should articulate what your plan is for the day, is your mind then looks for and is tuned into looking for opportunities to help make that become a reality. And is considered the first part of reality. When we say Shema Yisrael, even, that is a visualization. If you notice, when we say it, we usually are closing our eyes, covering our eyes, and saying it. So why am I doing that? Well, there's lots of reasons given, but one is I'm going into my mind's eye because I want to perceive with my mind's eye the unity and the unification that Hashem is one. Why do I close my eyes? Because when I open my eyes and I look around the world at what I see is not necessarily that. What I see is a world that's fractured, compartmentalized, divisive. It's the opposite of unity. It's the opposite of unified. It's the opposite of oneness. So I close off so that I can actually see the reality, which is that there is oneness. So what we want to do is tomorrow, all throughout the day, you can start tonight, Wednesday night, Thursday, because that's tonight for me already is Erev that is the 25th of Adar. And that going into that is like to really use that power. We have been, I think people have been doing that. Maybe, I won't say subconsciously, but we are supposed to really take the opportunity to visualize how we want the world to be recreated. And when it's recreated, then on Rosh Chodesh, then we'll be recreated. We are getting the thought process ready to go forward. So that's the opportunity to make a note, just put down on your calendar, think, verbalize, visualize of exactly what it is we want. And the more detailed, the better. What's it going to feel like? What's it going to look like? What's it going to sound like? What's it, anything that we can do to fill it in to make it more vibrant is what we're supposed to do. So this is great spiritual, rabbinic, practical advice. And it also has an impact on us because it speaks to the role that we have in creating reality, that we have a role by managing our thought process. This is because our thoughts are the first to go. Like when somebody, what do we say? If I'm distracted, my mind's not on my work, I'm thinking about 100 million things. The first thing to put into some sort of order are our thoughts, thoughts, speech, action to come into order. Which brings us to the idea of talking about order. So anybody have an answer to my question from the email of what was the name of the organization in Get Smart that they fought against? Darlene.
My husband helped me because I didn't know. Chaos.
All right, that was the enemy was chaos. And so Get Smart, Maxwell Smart. Okay. And I love the name of the show. I mean, these things may mean so much more to you when you're older as an adult. And what's the name of the show? Get Smart. Okay. Get Smart. Okay. Now in the show, it was like, get smart, like go get him and capture him. But it's a double entendre of like, no, get smart. You have to get smart. And how do you get smart is to oppose chaos. It says, what is this talking about? It says, this is the antidote. This was also from a beautiful class from Rabbi Mi-Tzion Tetze, related to the Torskys, who gave a class talking about how our preparations for Pesach, which are starting now, that the main thing that we are doing is cleaning and creating Seder, creating order, because that's what Seder means. And that Seder, by definition, is the opposite of chaos. Our enemies create chaos. And to not fall into the trap of their chaos in our own minds, in our own thoughts, in our own emotions is very, very challenging. So think of the chaos. I'm going to say not never mind the violence, but never mind the violence at this point. Just think of the chaos. Everybody's homes turned upside down, burned to the ground, people displaced. They're staying with people they don't know, even people they do know. How long can you have guests in your home? Not for months and months and months, even people you dearly love. All these things, it's chaos. What it does to the economy, chaos. What it does to people's emotions, chaos. It says, what is our weapon against the chaos that our enemies are trying to impose on us? Our answer is Seder. And that when we make Seder in our homes, and I'm not talking about making the Seder, but when we put our homes in order, removing chametz, cleaning, getting rid of things that shouldn't be there, putting order to our day, even to our schedule, our life, following a routine, doing what we're supposed to do. Says this dispels the chaos. This is how we fight it. It's like We're not going on the front line, but we are at the front because we're at a place where the chaos can threaten to envelop us. And we have to have a response. And it's not enough to say, well, I'm not going to listen to these things anymore. I'm not going to read any of these things. That's fine to say that and say, I have to have like a timeout from the news or whatever it is, the scrolling, all of those things that can make us crazy. But there has to be something that we do, a positive thing. And the positive thing is to create order. So I know for myself, not having anything to do with the war, that whenever I'm feeling frazzled, one of the first things I used to always do was straighten my purse. Okay, let's just start with my purse. Like, what's in there that doesn't need to be in there? Where are the things that I forgot to put back in? Like, let's just start micro. Let's just start with that. And Pesach is actually a great opportunity. Now, we're not saying that dirt is chametz, because it's not, but creating order in our homes is an order in our life, an order in our emotions. And they have found that people who work on creating order, and again, I'm not talking about somebody who's like OCD and like off the charts on this, creating order, physical order in our homes actually calms people down. There's like a therapy of organizing closets and folding sheets and towels so that they're like all stacked like in a good way. It's calming. It says that it's like, you cannot mess with me. So it's a very kind of risk-free. It's not, definitely not in a danger zone here by doing this kind of work, but it is actually considered very helpful. It's a story of a man long time ago, I don't know, the shtetl years, his son was away at yeshiva, and he had, wasn't no cell phones in those days, no means of communication. And he wanted to know how his son was doing in the yeshiva. So he made the long trip to the yeshiva. His son was in the yeshiva, in the base medrash, learning. He went into his son's room and he saw that his night clothes were folded neatly on his bed and that his slippers were under the bed. And he turned around and went home. And he said, I know how he's doing. He's doing just fine. Because now, I don't know if you can say this about all boys who are in yeshiva. I think from what I understand, some of them are a disaster area. But this yeshiva was specialized in bringing personal order to one's life, creates order in that it ripples out. So that this is our opportunity for this Seder. Interestingly, this was so incredible. One of the mothers of the hostages, she says his name is Omer Shem Tov, and his mother has not done anything to his room since he was abducted. But she goes in, she has a routine, a ritual every morning. She goes into his room and says, good morning, Omer. Be strong, have belief. We're doing everything we can. She said, and then I close the door and I go out and I have my day. So that he knows, like, I'm sending my vibes to him, my messages, my tefillas to him, but I'm not staying at home and crying. This same person, this Omer Shem Tov, one of the hostages who was released said about him, the freed hostage was Itai Regev, said that at one point while they were hostage, when they were taken, they ended up getting grape juice from the Hamas people, whatever. They got a little small bottle of grape juice, said that Omer kept his bottle, did not drink it, and he saved it, counted to what he figured would be Shabbos, and counted 7 days. And then on that day and he also saved, this sounds like a Holocaust story, saved like a little bit of bread and some salt. And then on Shabbos, they took toilet paper and put it on their heads as a kippah. And he made Kiddush and Hamotzi so they could sanctify Shabbos. This is in Gaza. It's like, this is a young person. This is not like an old experienced Rebbe. This is like a young person. And I love his name, because his name is Omer Shem Tov. Shem Tov means a good name. Omer Shem Tov. Who earns a good name while they are in captivity? It shows you, like, there are opportunities in every situation to sanctify Hashem. This is what it means, serving God. what's serving God mean? Like, yes, God, what do you want, God? It's like, what's the opportunity that is in front of me to connect? And whatever it is, to whatever extent I can do it, that's the opportunity I take. And that is a Shem Tov. And that his name is Omer. So Omer, we know from Sfirat to Omer, the counting of the Omer. So this is just me saying, wasn't his mother, of saying that, like, that he counted the days, like how you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And how would he know what day it was? You're in a tunnel. You don't even know if it's day or night. How do you do that? But he made the effort to whatever extent he could, figuring like this must be Shabbos. And there's actually halacha that says that if you're on a deserted island and you're lost and you don't know when Shabbos is, it says, when you realize that, start counting 1. If you don't know, then that's day 1, and then you count and you make Shabbos on the 7th day. So Omer, the counting of that, counted to make Shabbos for himself and for his fellow hostage, his fellow person, and that this person then shared this with Omer's mother, which, can you imagine? I mean, it's such a weird thing to say, what nachas you have from your kidnapped son, that she has the privilege, and this is what makes her happy, and this is what keeps her going. So just such an incredible one story coming through there, is that we always have the opportunity to sanctify.
I just pulled up a picture. You want to see him?
Sure.
Not that, let's see if that works.
Oh, what a kitty. There he is. Omer Shem.
Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw that.
Oh, it sort of makes it real. Yeah.
Yes, there he is. Now, can you imagine him with a piece of toilet paper on his head like as a kippah to make kiddush? It's like, can we realize the privilege that we have to be able to fulfill the rituals, the mitzvot in comfortable surroundings? It's like, we should be jumping for joy. We should be jumping for joy. And speaking of that a woman who is from the north, from Kiryat Shmona, also called Rebbetzin Mizrahi, and like crying because she is displaced, one of the 60,000 people displaced from the north. And she said, I can't clean my house for Pesach. And she's crying. Some people are like, how do I get out of cleaning my house for Pesach? Like, can I go someplace? And she is like, I would do anything. She says, and there's chametz in my house. And it's like, this is a source of pain. She says, I would do anything to be able to clean my home for Pesach. So this reminded me of a story that my sister told me from a woman who was a Holocaust survivor in her community here in Israel. Very kind of fancy, elegant lady. And in her community, whenever there was an event, she always did the cleanup, which usually you ever notice like all your volunteers suddenly have appointments, or they hear their mother calling and they like disappear for the cleanup part. She was always doing the cleanup. And some of the people thought, it's like not really appropriate. You shouldn't have to do that. She said, oh no. She said, because I had to, I don't know, she had to clean for a Nazi officer, what she had to do when she was in the concentration camp. And she was like, if I survive and have the privilege of cleaning up for Jewish people of my life, I will be thrilled. She said, you can't take this away from me. This is, I live for this. This is what kept me alive, is hoping that I would have the privilege to be able to do this. So for me, these stories are very inspiring, because these are not like from 1,000 years ago. These are people like right here in our life, in our neighborhood, and it's very inspiring. Now, on the other hand, Rebbetzin Mizrahi also met a man whose son is a hostage, and he came up to her, and his story was very different. He said, we are such losers. We are such losers. We haven't won the war. We haven't gotten our hostages back. The world hates us. Everybody's on our case. We are such losers. She said she was so shocked, she didn't even know what to say. And then within moments, this woman with the Shema experience comes up to say, I'm so inspired. Same situation, children in as hostage. I'm so inspired. I said the Shema with people. It's so incredible. So what she wanted to point out is she didn't have any words to say. Yes, it's true. We don't have our hostages back. We haven't won. A lot of people are very unhappy with us. It's very traumatizing. But we get to choose the story that we want to tell about our experience. And that is not only the mitzvah of the Seder is to tell our story, which is what we do. That's what the Higadat Lebincha, you shall tell your children the story. And what story do you tell? Do you tell the story? We are such losers. We were in prison by Pharaoh and slaves for 210 years. And then, when we left, we didn't really want to go, and only 20% of us went. We don't tell that story that way. It's like, wow, we were oppressed and then we were saved, and it was so inspiring. And those who went were so great. We talk about the pain, but in the context of a larger story. So both these people, she said, which were within minutes, we're losers and I'm inspired. It's like, what's the story? The story is whatever you choose to tell. And we have that obligation to tell the story in a way that is inspiring. So the month of Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that every month has a spiritual quality associated with it. And the spiritual quality for the month of Nisan is the quality of speech. And it's specifically related to the speech of the Haggadah and telling the story. But it's how we tell all of our stories about setbacks, sadness, pain, loss, hurt, disappointment, people who have disappointed us, situations that haven't gone the way we want. We're not supposed to say everything was fine. We don't have to say everything is fine. We're supposed to say it was so hard, it was so painful, so difficult. I'm eating the maror. I am eating the maror. But I put the maror in a sandwich, because if we notice at the Seder, we take the maror and we put it in a sandwich. We eat it first by itself, dipped in charosis, but then we put it in the Hillel sandwich to say there's something else to it. There are bookends to this story. There's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And if we're in the bitter part, it means we're in the middle of the sandwich. We're not at the end of the story. So we need to be able to tell the story in the right way. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is when we start and we begin to tell our story. And we don't want to tell the story that we're losers. And how does God present this to Moshe? We're going to have Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh should be the story of we're losers, because the sky is dark. The moon is so tiny, like we're losers. Like, look at it. There's no light whatsoever. It says, but the light is returning. The light is returning, and Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the light is returning. So we tell the story always from that perspective. And when is Pesach celebrated? It's celebrated at the full moon. Like, it starts off Rosh Chodesh Nisan with like feeling like we're losers. And what do we say in the Haggadah? We start out by saying our ancestors worshipped idols. We start out, it says you intentionally must say how bad it was, and then also tell in the end of how we were redeemed. Having that perspective is to say, if we're in a place of pain, it means we're in the middle of the story. We're not at the end. And what we trust is, just as the last story ended with the redemption, our story will end with the final redemption. And for now, we're in the middle of the sandwich. There's another description that's like that, which is, Dorothy, did you have a question? Okay. There's another reference that we have to this, which is, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the song, Kol Haolam Kulo Gesher Tsar Me'od. The whole world is a narrow bridge. And then it says, I'm a little hoarse, so sorry. The ha'ikar, and the important thing is, lo lefached, to not be afraid, lo lefached klal. And the song starts off very slowly, and then it gets faster and faster and faster, and people are then clapping and jumping around at the end. That's interesting. You're singing a song about not being afraid, and you're singing it to like happy music. V'ha'ikar lo lefached klal. Don't be afraid. This song was actually written, I think, by the Rosh Yeshiva of our grandson's yeshiva, Rabbi Baruch Chait. However, he modified the words because the original words are from Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman, his words are not lo lifached, not to be afraid. It's lo yitpached, don't scare yourself. It is in Hebrew, it's called it's a reflexive verb, and it's what you do to yourself. And it does not have to do with what is outside. It has to do with our mental and spiritual equilibrium. Like, don't freak yourself out. So when it says Kol ha'olam kulo, the whole world is a gesher, a bridge, sar ma'od, a very narrow bridge. So you're crossing a bridge that's very narrow. And how do we feel when we cross a narrow bridge? I don't know about you. How do you feel if you're crossing a narrow bridge, especially if it's high up? Scared. All right, it's kind of scary. And if the bridge is moving a little bit, I see these things sometimes, like in National Grief, come visit here and you can walk across this bridge that kind of swings. Actually, there's a new bridge here in Israel that someone said, yeah, you can walk on it. It kind of moves. I'm like, I'm not going on that. I'm like, you can tell me it's been tested 4,000 times. I'm like, that's not for me. Life is enough of a narrow bridge. I don't need to go on one. So Gesher Tzar Ma'od, it's a narrow bridge. And what do people say? Don't look down. It says, don't look down, because you get scared of like, oh my gosh, it is a far way down. And our mind immediately starts going to what could happen, which isn't crazy. It's not a crazy thought. It's just that we will lose our balance from the thought of it more than from the actual walking across the bridge. And the most important thing on a bridge is to keep walking, not to stop. So a person says, Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar ma'od, the whole world is a narrow bridge, tsar, from the word like Mitzrayim, a narrow, constricting bridge. But what does the purpose of a bridge? A bridge connects two places. You have the place where you started and the place where you're going. And the place where you started and the place where you're going, those aren't narrow places. Those are like, your neshama comes from the world of Hashem. And in the end, you end up in the world of Hashem. And in between, we have this life that is this Gesher Tzar Ma'od, that is this narrow place. V'ha'ikar, lo yitpached. And the main thing is, don't scare yourself by all of the thinking that gets us to a place of nervousness, doubt, anxiety, despondency, despair. All those places are considered that we are creating our own danger zone. So we are talking about that as well, to encourage ourselves to have faith, have trust, and be like Omer Shem Tov's mother, of telling her son in her prayers for, have faith, stay strong, keep going, move forward day to day, and that's what we have the opportunity to do. So on Shabbat HaChodesh, we are launching this month, we're launching this spring, this new beginning, and we have an opportunity to think new thoughts, fresh ideas, elevated thoughts, redemptive thoughts, and that's not being Pollyanna-ish, saying, oh, this is how it's going to be, because that's where the bridge is going. So it is tsar right now. Tsar is also a word that's used for, like, related to the word for pain, because things that are constricted often are uncomfortable. So the Gesher Tzar Ma'od, it can be painful, it can be uncomfortable, it can be difficult, that's true. But ha'ikar is like, but don't scare yourself. It's like the pain may be necessary, but the suffering that we give ourselves is optional and is in our hands. We have the choice to say we're losers, or we have the choice to say, I am so inspired in the exact same circumstances. And so that is a choice that we get to make. Okay.
Amazing.
It's so powerful.
Amazing.
Okay. So here's something else to think about, which is.
Thank you, Ellen.
Sure. My pleasure. I was so happy to hear, that when we think about Shabbat HaChodesh and the juxtaposition to Shemini, Amen. That's right. Okay. We have the parsha Shemini, the echo from Yom HaShmini of Simchas Torah and of the attack, of having this counterpoint and the counterweight of Pesach. It says, we're actually taught that the day that our enemies are most likely to be defeated is Erev Rosh Chodesh Nisan. This is because this is the time, this month is the antidote to evil, again, because we talk about order defeating chaos. So what does this order mean? How do we put order in our lives? So we know that we have the order of tefillah. We have the order of that when we wake up in the morning, we have certain prayers and blessings that are said upon arising, even prayers that are blessings that are said after we use the bathroom, before we eat, after we eat. We now are saying when we go into the car, we are always saying the tefillat haderech of the blessing that you say for protection when you're on the road. But there is an order throughout the day. And even our prayer book itself, which is called a Sidur, is from the word Seder. So that this is all about creating order, because this is really a reflection of the order that we acknowledge belongs to God. Is that God created order, and that we are imitating God when we create order in our own lives. So again, it's not just because like I happen to like a really neat house, that this is actually like kind of cleanliness and orderliness is next to godliness, that it allows this spiritual energy to travel through and to be received more easily. Kind of like when you're trying to do something and you can't find what you're looking for. You're trying to leave the house, you can't find your keys. You can't find your phone, you can't find your glasses, you can't even find your purse. It's like that interferes with progress. So getting a handle on our physical stuff is considered a spiritual act. So as we begin with our Pesach preparations, keeping this in mind, launching it with Shabbat HaChodesh, this is the month when this all starts. Yes, Etta, were you going to? Oh, okay. All right. Any questions, thoughts just about this idea so far? Okay. The parsha of Shmini has in it the laws of kashrut, and very systematically goes through the things that we are supposed to eat and not eat. And the things that they are categorized by water animals, by land animals, by creepy crawlies, by insects, and by birds. And each of those categories has things that enable us to identify whether we're supposed to be eating them or not. Now, many people like to say, and it makes a great bumper sticker, except that it's not true, God cares more what comes out of your mouth than what goes into your mouth. It says, they didn't read Parsha Shmini. Parsha Shmini says, not so, because what goes into our mouth affects what comes out of our mouth, because we are what we eat. It influences who we become. And we can say, I know somebody who keeps kosher and they're the worst person I ever met. And I know somebody who has a bacon and cheese sandwich every day of their life, and they're amazing. And I would offer that the person who's eating bacon and cheese sandwich every day of their life is amazing and would be even more amazing if they didn't. And the person who is horrible and is eating the kosher would be worse if they didn't keep the kosher. That it augments whatever it is that you are. So that if we want the best foot forward, it's like anything, you know, they always have the story of somebody who lives to 104 or whatever, and they say, what's your secret? She was like, I drink a beer every day, and I smoked a pack of cigarettes, and I stayed up until midnight, you know, dancing at a bar. It's like, see, you can do those things. It's like, do not try this at home. It's like, there are always going to be the people who are the outliers. And you say, oh, I see this person, they exercise every day. They dropped out of a heart attack at 32. It's like, so you don't have to exercise. So we like to comfort ourselves with these kind of anecdotal ideas, but the Torah teaches us, and it says specifically in Shmini, is that this a person who wants to connect completely to their inner holiness needs to have kosher food in order to do it. Not because of any physical ills that have to do, although Rambam Maimonides said there actually are physical issues, but if there was really a physical problem with non-kosher food, you would not be allowed to give it to a non-Jew because you can't harm somebody else. So a person who is Jewish, who is trying to have a complete, all their spiritual connectors as receptive as possible, kosher food is part of the path for achieving that. So that non-kosher food actually dulls our spiritual senses. And the biggest symptom is that you don't know that your senses are dulled. You know how your mouth feels when you have Novocaine, when it's just starting to wear off and you sit there and you're biting your lip, but you can't feel it, except other people looking at you can see that you're biting your lip, but you don't feel it because you have Novocaine. So it's called, it creates a stuma, it creates a blockage. But the thing is, you don't know you have the blockage, or even somebody who has blockages in their heart, or in their arteries. And you have something, you find out you need a quadruple bypass. It's like, I thought I was doing fine. It's like, you were kind of, but not as good as you could have been. So that what we eat impacts our spiritual potential for actualizing our full selves. So in Parsha Shmini, says, and this frequently comes, Parsha Shmini, with Shabbat HaChodesh, of getting ready for Pesach, saying that it's not just on Pesach where we have very strict things about what we eat and what we cannot eat, and chametz and not having chametz, but all the time, the whole year, that the laws of kashrut are designed to give us a leg up, literally, on our spiritual quest for connection. When we talk about chametz, to just go into that, because that's what we're starting on, is the word chametz. So in Hebrew, pickles are called chamutzim. From the word chamutz means sour. Okay, it means sour. People think it means leavening. It doesn't mean leavening. It means sour. So chamutz, it says we're getting rid of chametz, that we want to get rid of sourness in our lives. And what's sour? Did your mother ever tell you or describe somebody as having a verkrumpte punim? It's like, I'm probably saying that wrong, but verkrumpte punim means like a sour face, a bitter face. And you're told if you look like that, your face is going to freeze like that, if you keep making that sour face. It says, so the face of a person who doesn't want chametz in their life is the face of somebody who is expressing the simcha, the joy and happiness of living their life. And a person can be besimcha at the same time they are in pain. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're not feeling or whatever. It's like a person's supposed to smile. They're supposed to have the simchat chayim. If somebody is in mourning, they are supposed to be mourning, but we are supposed to be besimcha and not having this chametz face, a chametzy face. But it's more than that, because we have a sourness that we have and a bitterness that we have also toward other people. A sourness, a sour expression, sour words, sour attitude. And people say, I kind of soured on the idea. I soured on that, the relationship soured. It's like, what does that mean? It means like it went bad. Like what happened? That it needs to be refreshed and revitalized if it's a healthy relationship that you're meant to have. But the idea of having this sourness is like, so the chametz is not just getting rid of the crumbs and the bread that are in our home before Pesach. It is also about removing the chametz from our lives, the sourness in our attitudes, our relationships, our speech. And it says like somebody who's speaking, and I have to say, I find it so troubling. I'm on Facebook and I see a lot of posts that people have written about the situation in Israel and people's frustration and pain, etc. I cannot tell you how many of them are laced with profanity, such that I don't share them because I don't want it coming like from my mouth. That even the t-shirts that I'm not even say the letters that are, blank, blank, blank Hamas. I'm like, I share your sentiment, but we don't talk like that. So we said the kosher, what comes into our mouth and what comes out of our mouth, we are supposed to be paying attention to. But again, I cannot believe the profanity. It has just become completely acceptable to dump all these words, 4-letter words, into conversation. And again, just because we are angry and in pain and frustrated, and there you go, get a thesaurus. You know, if you can't think of a word, go get a thesaurus. And a 4-letter word does not communicate instead of regular language. So there's like clean it up. So it's not just clean our homes, it is cleaning up language, thoughts, actions, the whole thing. We have a lot of work to do, but it should be joyful work, because the cleanliness is not like kosher food is cleaner. It maybe is or maybe isn't, but it is spiritually clean. And to have a clean environment and a clean home and clean communication and clean relationships, that this is the kind of cleaning that we are also doing for Pesach. So this is the type of cleanliness that, you know, you would not let children talk like this. And it says at Pesach, we are all newborns. This is the birth of the Jewish people. We are newborns, and we are trying to start fresh. And starting fresh starts with fresh thoughts that we're going to conceptualize, articulate, do all of this on tomorrow, on Thursday. So I have time to even think about it beforehand. On Thursday, to think about what it is that I want for myself, my own goals, my own aspirations. How do I want to be manifested in this world? It has to be thought out first. In a way, it's easier because nobody said you had to do anything yet. So you don't have to do anything. You just have to think about it and verbalize in your mind. And as I said, you can say it, you can write it down, that this is an auspicious time. And with that, we can start, and we can start thinking about how we're going to tell the story. At your Seder, it might be an appropriate time also to talk about other stories that people have from their lives, from bitterness to redemption, of a difficulty to being able to get through it, even scarred, wounded, or however it was, because we are supposed to tell the story. We just need to make sure we're telling the story in the way that is inspiring and truthful at the same time. That we eat the Hillel sandwich, and Hillel sandwich has the maror, and it has the bitterness, and it has the matzah, bookending it together, because we want to tell the whole story, to be able to give it accuracy. We want to be the people who say, I'm so inspired through my difficulty. I know that the whole world is a narrow bridge, excuse me. There are enough challenges that are out there. I don't need to freak myself out. In addition, I do not need to make myself afraid. I need to set my sights on heaven above and just keep walking. And God willing, that will bring us to our ultimate redemption extremely, extremely soon, like right now. So God willing, thank you very much. And we'll look forward to getting together again next week. And thank you. And I think I should stop now because my voice just left.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Ellen.
Wishing you a very fuash shlema, Ellen. Feel better.
I'm gonna go
Yeah.
ahead.
Feel better, Ellen. Thank you.
Yasher koach, Ellen.
Yeah,
Ellen, I was
Beautiful
Ellen, I
class.
was very hoarse for a month, so I went to a specialist, and he said that I have something I never thought I had. You might have the same allergies. The whole nose is inflamed, and he gave me a spray or Allegra, or you can take, Zyrtec makes you drowsy. I don't recommend. It's just a direction I didn't think about, and I had trouble teaching too because my voice is so hoarse, and I never thought I was allergic to anything. So just in case, go check.
These things change. We become allergic. It's very sad. Yes.
So
Things
thanks.
change.
That's true.
Ellen,
Thank
just
you.
one word more.
Yeah.
The word for pickles and puppets.
Yes,
So-
related. Chamutzin.
You have to drink hot water, Ellen. It will help you.
Okay.
Also, vinegar in Israel, vinegar is called chametz.
And vinegar is also called chametz. So
Right.
it's
Right.
Fermentation.
Fermentation. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, go
That's
drink
the
hot
leavening
water. It really
is
will help you.
fermentation.
Let's let her go. Go get a drink.
Okay, bye.
Go drink
Thank
hot
you.
water.
Good
It
job.
really helps.
thank you for all of your help.
Lots of love, and thank you for inspiring us so much.
My
Right,
pleasure.
and
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ellen. I agree.
Love you.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
agree 100% with what you said, Ellen, about the order. And I've noticed in my life, the more stress I'm under, I'll look for something to clean, to make order out of. And so
Absolutely.
it's 100% in my case that definitely, but now I have an additional meaning to it. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Very good. You know, I didn't mention that they use this in trauma, treating trauma on the spot as well. Is somebody who's in trauma, who's like in this place, is to get them to do something like put these cards in, you know, in numerical order or stack these things, that kind of thing. It takes your mind into a different place and you access a different part of your intelligence. So the Seder allows us to be able to deal with whatever the stress is in a different way to process it.
Right. I can believe that 100%. So
Yeah.
thank you for those
My
thoughts.
pleasure. My pleasure.
All
Okay,
right.
I'm gonna go get some hot water and I will see you all, God willing, next week.
Okay.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.